Previously on Globe Trek Around the World, Justine Shapiro traveled across America on Route 66 and beyond. Judith Jones explored the land of the conquistadors and Aztecs in Central America, and Brianna Barnes toured the land of the Incas in Latin America. Then Zay Harding began his Pacific adventure in Santiago before traveling to Easter Island, Tahiti, and Pitcairn Island. Now we join Zay again as he heads further west.
Sailing back from Pitcairn,
I'm going into the heart of the Pacific Islands in search of ancient cultures. Along the way, I'll be trekking across some spectacular scenery and riding the trail beaten by some unexpected settlers. Join me, Zay Harding, on my epic journey through the South Pacific. Land ahoy!
In this concluding part of my Pacific journey, I return from Pitcairn Island and shore up on the island of Mangariva in the Gambiers archipelago. Moving westward, I travel to the Kingdom of Tonga and I fly to Fiji. I explore Norfolk Island before I head to my final destination, the French department of New Caledonia. Mangariva is a remote island located on the easternmost tip of the Tuamotu Islands in French-controlled Polynesia. But it still managed to be overrun by sweeping Catholicism, which aggrieved most of its Polynesian islanders in 1834.
Two fathers in particular, Father Honoré Laval and Father Correa, were not only able to quickly convert the locals, but they were also able to get them to build a cathedral, schools, roads, and many other church-facilitating amenities. And while the Mangarevans embraced the religion, they didn't appreciate being treated like slaves, so many of them left. And it wasn't until the two fathers were kicked out of Tahiti that they all came back and enjoyed the fruit of their labor. Today, 95% of the island are practicing Catholics.
Apart from this elegant coral stone church, all that is left of the two fathers' contentious achievements are the remains of a convent located on the site of the royal palace of the ancient Polynesian kings. It's very much an example of the centuries-old struggle that took place in these islands between the native Polynesian and Christian culture.
See these fruit here? They're called reva, and they're poisonous. In the 7th century, King Matewa used to invite all his enemies to the royal compound. They got all excited, oh, we're gonna go see the king, right? Well, what they didn't realize is that as they're eating these fruits offered to them, they're slowly being poisoned. They all died. He never even had to use violence. He killed them with kindness.
Continue along the path from the monastery, and you can still see the remains of the Polynesian royal baths.
We arrived here in Mangariva and we came from Pitcairn. We were just visiting the island and walking around with our children.
It's a dream that we have since we were very young, and as everyone knows, we start working and then we forget the dreams, and it happens when you are nearly at 40 that the dream come back and say, hey, come on, let's go traveling.
With dreams in mind, I hop on a plane and fly 2,360 miles west to Tonga. Tonga is composed of 170 volcanic and coral islands. I start my journey in Nuku'alofa, on the major island of Tonga Tapu. Tonga is pronounced Donga and has a population of just under 100,000 people of Polynesian origin. The locals are renowned for their sporting strength, generous size, and healthy appetites, based on a diet of carbs like taro, sweet potato, yams, and the preferred meat of choice, pig.
When Captain James Cook landed here in 1776, he nicknamed this the Friendly Islands. Hello.
Hi.
Tongans are also big on respect, and they wear pandanu mats around their waist called tavaolas to show it.
This is Nuku'alofa, the capital of the sole surviving kingdom in the Pacific. Now sadly, their latest king, George Tupou V, has just become their late king. And he's buried over here next to all the other former monarchs of Tonga. So now his younger brother must take the throne, but not before the entire country goes through an extensive period of mourning.
Public displays of mourning are seen in the swathes of purple cloth that are hung around Tonga's buildings.
I've been invited to meet someone from the royal family. I'm a little nervous. I don't know how to act. I mean, it's royalty, you know? Am I even dressed appropriately?
I am meeting the king's niece, the Honorable Frederica Fatafehi Olapaha Tuita. And as you can see, the royal house still laments the king's passing.
Hello, Malolele. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. So I'm very sorry to hear about your uncle.
Thank you.
As I understand, these skirts that you're wearing are a sign of mourning, is that right?
Yes, these are called ave ave. They're a sign of mourning. We wear them during and after funerals. We usually wear black and our ave aves for a year after the person has passed away.
Wow. So what is the role of the monarchy here traditionally, and how is that changing as we enter the 21st century?
Well, traditionally, the monarch held all the power, but since the reform, things are more democratic now in Tonga. Things are more westernized as well. So people do still see the king as a figure of authority, but they know that they have a choice when it comes to politics.
And one tradition that I'm curious about is the whakaletis.
Yes, whakaletis.
Yeah, this is, whaka means to have the way of, and leti is ladies. And it's when a family doesn't have any daughters, and so they raise their youngest son as if he was a daughter, so that he can help out around the house and stuff. Do you have whakaletis here in your house?
Yes, I do. I have a few ladies here that stay with us. Andrew and Delu is a part of our household.
So you were the youngest son?
Yes.
Yeah? You're a whakaleti?
Yes, I'm a whakaleti.
And at what point were you assigned this role?
I was in the primary school at the age of 5 years old.
5 years old, and they told you...
I feel as I have a role as a whakaleti.
I bet you do it well. And your friends, how did they take it?
They feel... That's alright, except when they feel normal.
It's normal.
It's normal
here, huh?
So we can get along, no change.
So
we get along with them.
Were you excited?
Yes.
Yeah? You were hoping, you were waiting for that day. Are they gonna give you the good news?
Before you could say George Tupou I, the Tongan king converted to Methodism, and he built his Wesleyan church in the beating heart of Nuku'alofa. The year was 1822. It was the early missionaries to Tonga who introduced hymn singing to their congregations. Emotional and evangelical, these early hymns are still sung with reverence today.
Tonga Tapu is a low-lying island. No mountains, no hills. Lots of bumps, so the best way to traverse it is by bike.
I'm leaving the capital and pedaling east to the village of Niautua. My destination is the ancient Ha'amonga a Maui Trillathon. Another respected Tongan ritual pertains to family burials, and the cemetery provides a fascinating example where Polynesian and Christian traditions meet.
Cemeteries like this are found all across the island. The Tongans believe that the dead are as alive as the living, and they make great efforts to preserve the memories of their loved ones. Each gravesite is individually decorated and personalized with colorful flowers and quilts and mounds of sand to cool and protect the body and spirit from the hot sun. It's a way of giving them immortality, and for me, it softens the whole experience. I've come to Nitaua in search of an ancient sundial that's thrown light on the navigational skills of the Polynesian seafarers who crossed the Pacific. Hi. In a bit.
It's called the Trillathon, and it's been carbon dated to about 300 AD. It belonged to the all-powerful Ha'amonga tribe and its king, Maui. Some say it's a gateway to a royal compound, but a double V was located on the lintel with 6 holes in it. Each hole pointed to the rising of the sun during its longest and shortest day on the equator, and latitudes were taken from it.
It's important to understand how difficult it is to sail by the stars in the southern hemisphere. It's not like the northern hemisphere where you've got that fixed north star to guide you. South of the equator, all the stars shift around. And when you consider how far these Polynesians traveled, you may wonder how they kept from losing their bearings. Well, the answer may lie in this geometric construction here. You have anything for the Trillathon? Ooh, that's cool. That's really cool. There it is right there. How much is this?
20.
20, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look at that.
I'm leaving Tongatapu and flying on the shortest commercial flight in the Pacific. I'm going to the Tongan island of Eua. It's just a 6-minute hop. Once again, the best way to explore the island is on a bicycle, and the first thing you'll notice are the pigs which snuffle about the island. Every household has at least one, and the Tongans love to eat them. I'm visiting a farm run by an old couple, Tupou and William Mackenzie. They make a traditional Polynesian cloth called tapa from the branches of the mulberry tree. The couple are giving me a step-by-step guide on how to make tapa.
Step 1, clear the path. Step 2, find the tallest mulberry trees and cut them down. So these are called tutu in Tongan. Tutu. Tonga tutu. Tapa tonga.
Tapa tonga.
Step 3, hand over the cut mulberry branches to Tupou and she will strip them of their bark.
Wow. That is awesome. This is why it's so important to get the tall ones, huh? Step 4, roll it up. Step 5, skin off the bark. Tupou here has been making tapa since she was 7 years old. I don't know how old she is now, but she and William have been living in the same farm, miles away from the nearest village for the last 30 years.
Making tapa involves several hours of hammering the bark till it's flat and supple, while sealing the obvious holes torn by the branch limbs with cut-out bark patches glued together by a natural fixative.
We're going to boil the water, and what do we put in it?
Cassava.
Cassava. This is what we use for the glue. Now, William tells me we only use half a cassava, and you only half boil it. Then we give it to Tupou, and she does the other half of the magic. I love it. Even the dogs sit and watch this, huh? Everybody watches. A master at work. it's like a glue stick. Look at that, it just holds it together. Glue stick, natural glue stick.
Tupou cuts the bark into rectangular shapes by eye.
They're putting two really big pieces together. You can make them as small or as big as you want. And it can be as big as 50 meters. They use them for wallpaper, tablecloths, art canvas, anything, you name it. You can even make clothes out of it, really. And then they set this out to dry for about 4 days. And that's when the artwork gets put on it. All right, well, William, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see the next step of the process where they paint it, yeah? Yeah, I will see you later.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank
Yeah.
you. Jolly old man, I love it.
Just half an hour's ride from William and Tupou's farm is the village of Pitani, where tapas are finished by a local co-op.
Believe it or not, this is one of Tupou's tapas. And I'm at the women's cooperative overseen by Miley over here. And they have this black ink that they make from coca trees, the bark. They pound it up, grind it, boil it, soak it for 3 days. And out comes this black dye, which just flows so nicely right into the tapa. And this was the currency before they had money. Today, they actually sell this. This is going to be used for a wedding. It will be the blanket for the newlyweds to consummate their marriage.
Have you got a wife?
Have I got a wife? Yes, I do. I wish I had one of these, though. These are nice.
You look so beautiful, like me.
Oh, thank you.
I better beat it out of Tonga fast. So I hop on a plane and fly a mere 500 miles to my next destination, Fiji. The Republic of Fiji is made up of some 332 volcanic islands, of which more than 100 are inhabited. Its main island is called Viti Levu, and Suva stands as its proud capital. My destination, however, is the westward town of Nadi. Fiji was a warring island nation with a speciality in cannibalism. It was named by the Tongans, with whom the Fijians had many ferocious battles. It was colonized by Britain, who claimed it in 1874. Fiji gained independence almost 100 years later, in 1970. The Fijians pride themselves on their warm welcome, which is characterized by a bula. And this attitude makes Fiji one of the most joyous destinations in the entire Pacific. I don't know, you wait all day for one bula band to show up and then two come along at once. You gotta admit though, these guys are persistent. Go, 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 go! My first port of call is the town market, and I've come here for a juice adored by the natives.
Kava, the beverage traditionally bestowed to chiefs to gain favor, ask for help, say thanks, maybe buy a little time if you're behind on rent. It's a root from the Yongona plant with ancient ceremonies and rituals attached to it. It's a relaxant, so it makes people feel good and they love it. Now, I'm trying to get an invite into a special village for my journey here. So I've got to find some grade A root in my head honcho so I can get a foot in the door. The kava root grows from a pepper vine in all tropical climates. Excuse me, Bula.
No, Bula.
What do I look for when I'm buying kava?
Oh, you need easy to break. That means it's great quality.
You want brittle?
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's no good because it's kind of bendy. That one's good because
this one is
snaps.
one, yeah.
And so what do they do? They grind it up? This looks like
they pound it.
They pound it.
Yeah. This is the powder form.
Powder form. Is there a problem with people like lacing their kava with crap that's not.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Raw, you can get a
rash.
bad hangover in the morning.
So it's important to get the brittle
Really, yeah.
kava. Okay. I feel like I'm on the underground drug scene here.
My new friend Ame knows all the best stall. I'm trying the powdered-looking stash, which is squeezed very pragmatically through a sarong.
It's like a tea bag.
Yeah. What size of cup you want? Low tide, high tide, or tsunami tide?
Let's go tsunami size.
Tsunami. You clap once before you receive.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's all.
Hula! Hula! I drink the whole thing?
Yeah. Finish the tsunami.
Hula! That's disgusting.
Clap 3 times. Say vinaka, thank you.
That's like drinking mud. See, you can meet friends anywhere with this stuff. Vinaka.
Vinaka.
I can't feel my tongue. I can't feel my tongue.
There are a few Indians around, and in Fiji they make up 38% of the population.
There's a substantial Indian population here in Viti Levu, and Nandi is full of these sweet homemade snack shops, and they're very affordable. Hula.
Hola, how are you, sir?
Good. Can I get some buja?
Yeah.
Some bajia, and what's this one called?
Sugar candy.
What do you guys call it?
Jalebi.
Jalebi.
There you go.
All right, how much is this?
It's $1, sir.
All right, thank you.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Bye.
Indians didn't bring Christianity to the Pacific Islands, but they did introduce a little bit of Islam and a lot of Hinduism. Nandi itself boasts a fabulous Sri Siva Subramaniya Swami temple, which is very much worth a visit. It's a Dravidian temple, a place of worship painted in rainbow of colors, symbolizing the brightness of the universe. Devotees come here to cleanse and give offerings to the Lord Ganesha and to Shiva. Indians were brought over to Fiji in the late 19th century by British traders called blackbirders, who indentured them to landowners on their cotton and sugarcane plantations. Their descendants have become the backbone of Fiji's agricultural economy. It was actually the Christian missionaries who first changed the Fijian landscape at the beginning of the 19th century, when they arrived to convert the cannibal-eating tribes who had been living off the land and its folk for nearly 3,000 years. The most effective missionaries in Fiji have been the Mormons. I meet with a very youthful-looking Elder Nelson.
So you're from the States. What are you doing out here in Fiji?
I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And you get stationed out here? You choose to? Or?
No, we are called by a prophet of God to come and to preach the gospel.
How Fiji, though?
Through revelation. We send in our information when we desire to come on a mission. The prophet and the quorum of the 12 apostles will pray about the area in which we are to come to serve. And through revelation, we get selected to the area.
So you told someone you were interested and they said, Fiji it is.
Yeah.
What's your specific role out here in Fiji?
To preach the gospel.
You go just to people's houses, or?
Yeah, we go house to house. We speak with other members of the church if they have friends that are interested in hearing about the gospel. And we go and we visit the people.
So how are you finding the Fijians? Are they receptive, or are they not interested, or?
Yeah, the Fijians are very accepted. They're very God-fearing people. They're very receptive to the gospel and seem to like what they hear and what they see when they come and attend church.
That's exciting. So you're actually making a difference out here.
Yes, we're trying our best.
Oh, well, good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Do I still call you guys elder even though I'm older than you?
Yeah.
Cool.
The Mormons, like other missionaries, have confronted strong tribal traditions, and as I'm about to find out, Fiji is still inhabited by people who hold time-worn beliefs. I'm leaving Nandi and taking the Salovi Road south.
This is actually called Back Road. It's the main road, but back in the day it was the back road. And buses are supposed to come every half hour. In Fiji time, that means every 45 minutes. And if they don't, it's totally acceptable to just flag someone down and catch a lift. quite often they'll actually pick you up for the same price. Buses are going the wrong way.
Here's one. My first stop is the coastal town of Sigatoka. Here, I meet Big Josh and talk Fijian hair traditions.
Bula.
Bula, Bula.
Hi, I'm looking.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking for a Big Josh.
I'm Big Josh.
You look like a Big Josh.
Welcome in. Welcome in.
Thank you.
Welcome in.
Historically, Fijians have placed much cultural significance in their hair, and Big Josh is the man to show me the roots of this quintessentially tribal tradition.
Every day, we put the coconut oil and just comb.
Just straight up and out.
Just straight in the hair, yeah.
It smells really good.
And
are there different meanings for different hairstyles?
Different hairstyle, different meanings, yeah. Like I'm wearing a men's hairstyle, a chiefly hairstyle. But Siki, she's wearing a single woman hairstyle.
This is a single woman's hairstyle?
Single woman's hairstyle.
How do we know? Ah, so it's still full, but it's longer in the back.
It's longer at the back.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. Longer in the back,
longer at the back.
is a woman's hairstyle.
It's a woman's hairstyle.
But a single woman's hairstyle.
Single woman hairstyle.
So taller means, hey guys,
Yes,
notice me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's giving me a wink. She's like.
The comb are usually kept by the chief after the hair is dressed by the hairdresser.
You just keep it in your hair?
Just keep it in the hair.
And you just leave it there all day?
All day long.
Wow.
Until going to bed.
Wow.
And it's an insult for someone to pull the combs out of the hair. Because I believe the head is where the spirit is.
Okay.
Not anyone is allowed to touch the hair or pull the comb out of the head of the chief.
It's sacred.
It's sacred.
Taboo.
It is taboo.
And what happens if someone touches your head without asking?
You get into big trouble. Yeah, exactly.
And then?
End up as a meal.
Right. I'll be, is that somebody calling my name outside?
Fijian history is littered with stories of Europeans who offended the cultures and paid a great price at the hands of cannibal tribes. Intrigued by their fate, I'm leaving Sigatoka and heading into the interior, Fiji's cannibal country. I'm armed with my kava gift to my prospective chief. The practice of cannibalism died well over 100 years ago. Didn't it?
Why is that guy laughing? Why is that guy laughing?
My journey takes me along the Sigatoka River, deep into the forest of the Nandrau Plateau. My destination is the village of Nabu Tautau.
These tribes have been eating the flesh of the dead for the last 2,500 years, and it's this repulsion that led one Thomas Baker and his 8 Christian disciples to go there and try to convert these savages into their peaceful ways of the Lord in 1867.
Ironically, this region of Viti Levu is called the Salad Bowl of Fiji because of the incredibly fertile land which yields the likes of yams, cassava, and taro.
So there were 14 tribes contesting supremacy in Fiji, and along with fighting their neighboring Tongans, you might say that waging war and enacting acts of extreme violence was something as common as brushing one's teeth. The tribe that came out on top in the 18th century was the Ratu Udre Udre, who were known to have eaten 872 people. They even laid down stones to record this impressive achievement in the field of human dining. Eat me was a ritual greeting from a commoner to a chief. Fijians today refer to this period as Nagauna Nitaboro, the time of the devil.
Tales like these gave Fiji the name the Cannibal Isles.
Pinaka? Pinaka?
Okay, it's another 6 miles over the mountains on foot.
Whoa. Missionaries passing through these parts recounted seeing warriors feasting on their slain enemies on the battlefield. They believed that eating their enemies was the ultimate form of revenge. Plus, they liked the fact that it probably offended the enemy's spiritual ancestors. But cannibalism was also a form of punishment. So, if you got caught stealing your neighbor's fruit, let's say, you would get sent down to the village spirit house and made to watch yourself get eaten alive. Oh, and if you were really unlucky, you would have to eat yourself, as the men did their dance of death around you before the women would come in and sexually humiliate your dead body.
It was an abhorrence of this barbaric culture that took the missionary Thomas Baker to Nabatautau. When news of his horrific death got around, Fijians placed a curse on the village, and it wasn't until Thomas Baker's descendants officiated a pardon in 2003 that Nabutautau's sins were forgiven and the curse was lifted. A road linking the village was then built, and Nabutautau was finally welcomed into civilization.
This is a great balabala. It fends off evil spirits and protects the village. Pula. I gotta get permission to enter the village. I'm gonna go meet with the chief, Ratu Viliami. And etiquette is really important, so I gotta take off my glasses, my shoes. Can't wear any hats. Can't cross across the middle. Can't talk when other people are talking. This is about to get very serious. Dua, dua, dua.
Oi, dua. Mai. Mai.
So, kava.
My small offering is called a sevu sevu, and it's a Fijian tradition enacted between befriending tribes even to this day.
This is the first step called sevu sevu. It's me giving him something, a gift, in turn of asking for a favor, which is going to be shown around the village to learn more about Thomas Baker's fate. Also have this shirt for you.
Oh.
It's from us, from Globe Trekker.
Globe Trekker.
Yes. Thank you for allowing us to film in your village.
No valeu.
Now for phase 2, which is the obligatory acceptance of his sebu sebu, which is drinking the kava.
My kava has been enthusiastically received. It's strained in the sarong again. They'll use my Globe Trekker t-shirt in due course. And we're starting, with a low tide. Clapping is intrinsic to the sevu sevu ceremony. One clap informs my host that I am honored to have a swig.
Fula binaka.
And 3 claps expresses my appreciation.
Whew. Earthy taste numbs your tongue and mouth immediately, but it's worth it. Now, that seals the deal. I've been invited into the village, haven't I? Thank you for having me. So, I'm trying to learn more about the late Reverend Thomas Baker.
Yeah.
I understand he was here, he was killed in this village, is that right? Is there anything left over from Thomas Baker?
We got the axe that was used when the Reverend Baker was killed.
You guys have the axe?
The real axe.
Uh-huh.
You want to see the axe?
Yeah.
Okay. Get to motor boy.
Do a lot of people come and ask about Thomas Baker?
No.
You have a beautiful village. Very well kept.
Oh.
Ooh. Now that is an axe.
This was the real axe that was used.
Oh, that's heavy, huh? That's serious, huh? So, what did he do that was so wrong?
He touched the head of the chief.
What did they do? Just chop his head off or chop him in the back?
He was
carrying the axe like this, yeah? When the order was given and he just turned around and he chopped his head off.
Chopped his head off. So it's okay if I look around the village now?
No, it's okay.
In July 1867, 35-year-old missionary Thomas Baker and his locally converted Christian followers made their way down this valley in the hope of saving the cannibal tribes of Nandrau. Blood found on the site was interred in this grave, and Thomas Baker received a Christian burial.
This is the site where Thomas Baker was felled by a blow to his head with an axe. 6 of his followers were also clubbed to death, and all of them roasted over flat rocks. The remains of Thomas Baker's body was hurled over a river just here into the neighboring village of Nandrau, where hungry cannibals there proceeded to eat what was left, including one of his shoes. The surviving shoe is on display in a museum in Suva, complete with bite marks.
I'm now heading 1,000 miles further southwest into the Pacific to Norfolk Island, an Australian territory located off its eastern coast. This island haven is characterized by pine trees and is just loved by holidaying golfers. But its playful image conceals another dark chapter in Pacific history. When the British fleet shored up to deposit their worst convicts and erect a penal settlement at the end of the 18th century. These incorrigibles, as they were called, were brutally treated by tasking prison wardens well into the 19th century.
Scourger, do your duty! 1, 2.
Many died. Some wish they had died. Such were the terrible living and working conditions they had to endure, providing timber for ship masts and flax for their sails.
This is the second British settlement on Norfolk Island, the penal settlement. The atrocities here were horrific. It started in 1825 with 57 convicts, 6 women and 6 children, and a battalion of men, and it went on to be the worst penal settlement the Britain ever had.
The experiment failed, and the settlement closed in 1844. 12 years later, Norfolk became a second home to a handful of bounty ship exiles from Pitcairn Island, and the families of the 8 Navy rogues who survived Fletcher Christian's legendary mutiny still live on Norfolk's green and pleasant land.
Hey, Holy Eyes, David Evans. Did them know me, yes? 7th generation descendant, and I've been to Pitcairn Island twice in my life.
What away, Yoli? My name is Lyle Snell, and I is 5th generation descendant of the Bounty Mutineers.
What away? My name's Tanya Anderson, and I'm 7th generation of John Adams.
Hey, what away? My name is Joseph Adams. I live on Norfolk Island. I is travel agent.
Hey, what away? I'm Joel Christian from Norfolk Island. I'm 7th descendant of Fletcher Christian of the Mutiny on the Bounty.
My name is Tony Gazzard. Even though I don't have a Norfolk Island descendant name, I am from Matthew Quintal from Mutiny on the Bounty.
That's pretty much English as far as you can get.
And so to my last destination. I bear some 476 miles north from Norfolk Island to New Caledonia. Its largest island, Grand Terra, lies 750 miles off the coast of eastern Australia and is the second largest island in the Pacific. New Caledonia is outwardly French, and its capital, Noumea, is like a Riviera in the Pacific, with its palm-fringed seafront and sunny cafes with their typical café au lait and showy Gallic gestures. The British weren't the only ones who used the Pacific Islands as a dumping ground for its worst felons. The French were at it too, on Noumea's penal island of Newtown, known as Newville. New Caledonia became a penal colony back in 1864, and it was established as a secondary prison settlement to Devil's Island in Guyana because inmates there were dying of malaria. In the 33 years that followed, some 22,000 criminals, overwhelmingly male, were shipped to Neuville from Republican France.
The conditions in this prison on Neuville were horrible. If prisoners did live out their sentence, they had to serve an equally long time scraping a living off the land before they were finally set free. Of course, not many people survived this, and those that did couldn't afford to go back home to France. So, French women of dubious reputation were brought over here, and thus colonization began in New Caledonia. It's basically a replica of how the English colonized Australia. Tough and determined ex-convicts pushed out the locals so they could carve out a new life for themselves.
Historian Marina Dufermont shows me around.
Have a look at this here.
It's pretty.
There were 22,000 convicts who came in New Caledonia between 1864 and 1897. 7,000 of them died and were buried there.
Yes, so they're looking at their graveyard while they're in prison. It doesn't look like a graveyard. You wouldn't know this unless you knew the history.
Yes, because the New Caledonian people wanted to forget a part of this history, so there is no memory here. Let's come inside to have a look at the cellars. You'll see.
Prisoners were rigorously classified, and the most dangerous, the incorrigibles, were made to wear chains at all times.
This chain was about 4 kilos.
Very heavy.
Very heavy, very heavy.
At night, convicts were chained to what was called a bar of justice to ensure they couldn't escape.
This is a bar of justice.
Oh, this? So they've got their chains on attached to this?
Yes, there were 20 men.
20 guys?
Not inside this small cell. But in the dormitories, they were fixed by 20 men beside.
That's horrible, huh?
Horrible.
Working conditions were so harsh that self-mutilations were common. Out of the 7,000 prisoners who died in Neuville, some 80 were guillotined for their bad behavior, and every convict had to either witness or assist in the guillotining. Until recently, France had chosen to forget about this episode in their colonial history. And for years, New Caledonia was referred to as Le Pays du Non-Dit, the country where nobody can say anything. One people who have been fighting to make themselves heard is the Kanak population. These Melanesian settlers traveled here from Vanuatu some 3,500 years ago. Deemed a shy and retiring people who have been stirred up by 150 years of opposition to French rule.
This magnificent 12-meter Kanak totem pole is topped with a Grand Kaz, or chief's hut. And it comes complete with a rooftop spear, which is called the Flèche Fêtier, and its carvings represent the 8 customary regions of New Caledonia and celebrate the multi-ethnicity of this country. Pacific Islands are full of these curio shops and got artifacts from all over the Pacific. You gotta know where to look. And I found this wholesale one right here on the outskirts of Noumea. And it's got stuff from Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu. This is a fertility mask. It's got a crocodile coming out the mouth. That's how you know that. This looks like something more in my budget. How much is this one?
1,000.
1,000, that's like 10 US. Much lower than I was expecting. It's a typical Polynesian style, yeah? Look at it's got shells embedded in it. Very pleasant expression. I would like to buy this, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Merci.
See you next time.
Okay, easy peasy.
And so to the final leg of my journey. I hire a car and travel 150 miles into the northern province to Hiangene, home of the Kanak tribes. It's a long 5-hour drive, but one which takes in misty mountain roads and some lovely coastal scenery. A short 2-minute ferry ride, and a view of a rocky landmark called the Chicken.
In New Caledonia, the different sceneries are really amazing. You know, there is different mountain and beach, and it's really green and blue, and it's just beautiful.
Captain James Cook spotted this island in 1771 on his second voyage while searching for Terra Australis. He landed on the northeast coast, which reminded him of the Scottish Highlands, so he named this Caledonia, the Roman name for Scotland.
New Caledonia is distinguished by its ragged mountain peaks torn off the continental crust 140 million years ago, and these peaks supply the world with a third of its nickel. Acres of mountain pasture was given to the convicts upon their release, and their ensuing citizenship turned them into the ruling class of New Caledonia. They called themselves the Caledoches. Over time, the Kanaks were pushed into the mountain valleys, hapless victims of a French colonial policy. And their struggle for self-determination takes me to the birthplace of its late leader, Jean-Marie Tjibaou. To enter his village, I come with a gift of material called a katoum.
This is katoum?
I meet Jean-Marie's family outside their cas. Once my katoum is received, it's customary for me to receive a katoum as well.
This is the flag of Kanaki.
Merci.
We are happy to welcome you here in the tribe of Yedanit, the tribe of Jean-Marie Tjibaou.
Merci.
Jean-Marie's son, Emmanuel, shows me his father's grave. Jean-Marie Tjibaou was a Catholic priest who championed the Kanak cause in the late 70s. He espoused nonviolent protest against the French government in his bid to guarantee Kanak autonomy, but he was tragically assassinated in 1989 by a fellow Kanak who thought Tjibaou was too friendly with the enemy. The Kanak then asked for forgiveness and donated this plaque to the grave.
And what was his big issue?
It was that the Kanak could be recognized as the people of this country and from nowhere else.
The Kanak culture was not being recognized by the French.
Yes, but after the period that we call the Avènement, where there have been lots of fight between French and Kanak people, there have been some treaties that have been signed, some hands that have been shaken between Kanak people and French people who live here.
So his work is finally paying off even after he's dead.
That's our fight today.
Yeah, that's good. Today I'm going on a trek with a Kanak. So why do I have a katoum in my hand? Well, because my guide is a Kanak and this is their currency. He lives just here and he's taking me up to the base of that waterfall. Inside of the katoum, it's a good idea to wrap some cigarettes because smoke is a very big deal to them. It's a symbol of life. In fact, when a child is born, the uncle blows smoke into his ear to give him life. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I have a katoum for you in exchange for being allowed to walk up to Cascade des Taux.
Merci pour les gestes. Vous pouvez y aller avec mon fils, voir la cascade.
Also, I need a guide. Can one of you guys walk with me?
Mon fils va vous conduire dans la cascade. Ça va?
Merci. Okay.
And I thought they were a shy retiring lot. The Kanaks know the mountains like the back of their hand, and they often refer to the pleasures of the outdoors as le brousse, the real life which can only be experienced outside the city.
Look at this, huh? That's pretty.
We're climbing up the Tau waterfall, and it's the largest cascade in all of New Caledonia.
Look at that. Isn't that something?
I'm nearly at the end of my South Pacific journey, crossing 4,000 miles of ocean first traversed by Polynesian navigators 1,500 years ago. I have seen their great imprint on the South Sea Islands, marveled at their achievements. I have tasted their sacred cultures and followed in their spiritual path. And I have walked in the footsteps of the European explorers who first called this a heaven on earth, and who have left their indelible mark on history. I end my adventure back in Noumea and take a tour around the Chibau Cultural Center, an arts venue designed by architect Renzo Piano and modeled on the chief's hut, a grand cas. Here we have it, a building that is a confluence of traditional Melanesian and European cultures, both looking for a common ground after hundreds of years of conflict, Christianization, and rocky assimilation. Some argue that Piano built these as a hopeful monument of rapprochement between the Kanaks and the Calidocians. But I think he might as well have built it as a beacon for all Pacific Islanders, also hoping to reconcile their dual identities. Next on Globe Trekker Round the World, we head into Asia and join Megan McCormick in China as we begin an epic journey across the Silk Road to Europe.